Have you ever spent hours trying to deploy the machine learning model, but only to be stuck by some strange, mysterious error? Imagine turning that frustration into seamless, efficient deployments every single time. Hi, I'm Nachiket, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to deploy your machine learning models effortlessly using Amazon SageMaker. Now stay tuned till the end of this video where you will learn how you can transform your deployment process and overcome those mysterious errors once and for all. Welcome to Manifold AI Learning. Whether you're a seasoned data scientist or just starting your journey in machine learning, deploying the models can often be challenging. Today, I'll walk you through deploying an XGBoost model using the Amazon SageMaker, and we'll also tackle some of the common issues like IAM permission and SDK compatibility. We'll cover everything from setting up your environment, understanding the deployment scripts, troubleshooting the errors, and ensuring that your model is up and running in a smooth manner. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap to deploy your machine learning models with confidence. So let's get started, guys. All right. So let's do one thing. What we'll do is we'll start with the heart of our code, that is the deployment.yml file. So the deployment.yml file, I've placed it under this build specs folder. So this is heart of our deployment process. Let's start by examining this deployment.yml file, and there's also a Python script that we have got. Now this deploy.yml file, this is actually used in this AWS code build. Here, our deployment.yml file, this YAML configuration, it actually defines the build phases for our code build project. Just notice how we have structured this YAML file. We start by upgrading the pip. Now, this is done to ensure that we have the latest package management capabilities. Now, we upgrade both our SageMaker and the Boto3 to their latest version so that this will help us in avoiding the compatibility issues. And once that is done, we are going to install any additional dependencies which is listed in our requirements.txt file. So if you take a look into this requirements.txt file, we are just ensuring that Panda, scikit-learn, joblib, SageMaker, Boto3. So these are the things that are being mentioned in this requirements.txt file. And finally, the build phase is going to run our main deployment script, which is the train and deploy.py. Okay. Now I want to place your attention to this requirements.txt file. Now this includes the essential libraries such as pandas, scikit-learn, and joblib. And importantly, we specify the minimum version for SageMaker and Boto3 to ensure that they are up to date without restricting the newer versions. So while creating this requirements.txt file, wherever possible, avoid pinning to the exact versions to prevent the conflict. So here in this case, we are mentioned as greater than or equal to. Now this will ensure that we get the latest compatible releases during the installation. Okay, so this will take care of the requirements.txt. Now let's go ahead and take a look into this core file, that is train and deploy.py file. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look into this Python script. Now here in this case, in this Python script that we have got, this script handles the training of the model as well as deploying it to the SageMaker. Here we start by importing the necessary libraries as well as initializing our SageMaker session. Okay, so if you take a look at it, I'm installing the necessary libraries, I'm specifying some environment variables, initializing the SageMaker session over here. Now, once that is done, okay, I'm also going ahead and printing the SageMaker SDK version. Now, this will be helpful for us whenever we are performing any debugging. So this will ensure that we are using the updated version. Next, what we are doing right now is we are defining our S3 path, the IAM role, and we are also specifying the output path. That means where exactly our model artifacts would be. Okay, these are the key things that I'm initializing right here in this file itself. Now, when you're working in the project, you can definitely create a configuration file in the format of YAML, and you can load it directly from there. For the demonstration, I'm just keeping it simple. I'm just defining the values over here for a variable. Now, once that is done, I'll go ahead and I'll retrieve this XGBoost, which is a built-in container image URI. Now, once this is done, we will go ahead and set up our estimator with appropriate hyperparameters, which is tailored for multi-class classification. Now, the reason this is because I'm using a data set, which is the iris data set, which is a typical multi-class classification task. And as a because of that reason, okay, I'm just ensuring that I'm initializing my estimator and I'm setting the hyperparameters for this task of this multi-class classification. The number of classes is 3 and number of boosting rounds that I'm initializing for the hyperparameters as 3. Now, after defining the training data channel, what we will do is we are going to initiate the training process, which is basically done right here. My training data channel, and I'm performing the fit. Then I'm just printing the message over here as training completed. Now, once the training is completed, the next comes is the important part where we are going to create the SageMaker model object and we are going to specify our endpoint name. Now here in this example, I'm just specifying the static endpoint. Now, whenever you're implementing it and when you try to create it next time, ensure that you create a unique one. Okay, and when I say unique, unique in your account. If once you have the endpoint as MLOps iris endpoint, it might not allow you to create it. So it's just one thing that you have to keep in mind whenever you're creating the endpoint inside the SageMaker. Now, once that is done, then the core deployment logic involves checking if the endpoint exists. If it does, we'll update it with a new configuration. If not, we'll create a new. So here, if you take a look at it, there's a function over here. This will create the endpoint, and we are specifying few details like variant name as all traffic. We are specifying the model name, initial instance count, and the instance type that we want to use it, and so on. Okay, initial variant weight, and we are also written one more function for updation of the endpoint. And here there's a try over here. Inside this try, so we are going to check the endpoint if it exists. If it already exists, we'll update it with a new model, else we'll create an endpoint. So that is being written over here in this code. So this has been written in this try except block. So we'll list the existing endpoints using the SageMaker client, and we'll proceed based on whether our target endpoint exists or not. So that's what is happening right here. And we are also going ahead and mentioning the exception. So we are handling the exception in a graceful manner so that whenever any error occurs, we are providing a clear error messages so that it can help us in troubleshooting. Okay, so we have created this train and deploy.py. Now, all the necessary infrastructure that is currently required, this is actually created with the help of AWS SDK. Okay, this has been created with the help of AWS SDK, and we have already created it over here. If I want to take you through the same, so if I just take you to this infrastructure stack, so this is our infrastructure stack. Now, since I'm aware of TypeScript, we were able to implement it with the help of TypeScript. Alternatively, you can also make use of Python as well. So just to give you a heads up right here, so I've referring to my S3 bucket. This is where my data set lies. So we have uploaded our data set into this S3 bucket, and we are creating the build spec project, that is code build project. So we are using the code build for both build as well as the deployment step, and we are assigning the IAM roles. We are setting up the source code connection for our GitHub repository. So this is basically the execution role for our SageMaker. And then, yeah, this is the connection that we have set up for our GitHub repository. Okay, so all those things is being right here. And if you want to go ahead and provide this infrastructure, so what we can simply do is we can go ahead and execute the code of just CDK deploy, and then we'll just mention a stack, and this will go ahead and deploy it from the stack that we have got. Okay, that's it. You just have to go ahead and perform this deployment once you have the CDK present. And along with that, we have also ensured that the data that we would require for our training is present in our S3. I'll take you right here. So what we have already done right here is in this S3, this is the bucket that I'm using. So over here, I've uploaded a dataset that is irisencoded.csv. Okay, this is the one iris.libsvm. This is the file that we have uploaded to our S3 bucket, and we are referring this dataset. Okay, now apart from that, what we have also done is we have ensured that we have set up the connection to our GitHub repository. So we have already created the connection to our GitHub repository, and this is the ARN. And this ARN is what we have mentioned over here in our source code. If you take a look into this MLOps infrastructure stack, see this is the connection ARN that we have mentioned. Now, when you are using this code to test out at your end, ensure that you replace this connection ARN with your own connection. Then specify your GitHub ID and GitHub repository and the branch name. So you can just mention all these details and ensure that you specify the ARN, and you replace this SageMaker ARN that you see right here with your own SageMaker service role. Okay, ensure you mention that. And while providing the access, let me just show you some of these steps as well. So if you go to the IAM, so I'm assigning the service role where I have all the required permission. See, this is the execution role that is being assigned, and this has got the relevant permission like S3, S3 full access, SageMaker full access. Those are the two minimum, and ensure that we have the access to the code build and everything. So whatever that's required, we have provided the access over here for our service role. And once everything is set up, once this infrastructure is up, let's assume that I do some code over here. Okay, I'll just include a dummy line. Okay, just for the demonstration, I'll say echo test build. Okay, this is just a new line that I'm adding right now. I'll save this. Now, once I save this code, I'll perform the commit to my GitHub repository. Okay, I'll say test commit. Now, once I save this source code and push it to my main branch of my GitHub repository, you would see that I'll go to the code pipeline and I'll just come over here. You'll see that the pipeline is in progress. So this has automatically triggered our pipeline, which is our envelopes pipeline. So it has pulled up the new source code, and now the build is in progress. We can just validate it right away. So I'll go to the code build and take a look into this build history. See, a new build is being executed. I'll click on this build run. So see, it says installing dependencies. It's just going ahead and using the same. So in this case, in this buildspec.yml file, we are not doing any specific testing right here. If you want, you can go ahead and write the test using the PyTest. We are just keeping it simple. So this will go ahead and uh, execute every command that we have mentioned inside that buildspec.yml file. Okay, now once that is done, so it would go ahead and perform the deployment. It will perform the training, and once the training is completed, it will go ahead and deploy the model on our endpoint. So let me just take you to the endpoints right here. See, this is an endpoint. So an endpoint will get created automatically for the new model that we have got. Okay, that's it, guys. So what you have seen right now is So you have seen as how you can actually implement the complete envelopes flow inside the SageMaker. It's very simple. The key thing that you have to remember for the successful deployment is in understanding the tools at your disposal. So ensure that whenever you're using the SDK, just ensure that you keep it updated and manage your IAM permission. That's it. You can automate it. You can check the link that is provided in the description to download the source code that we have used. And as I've mentioned, I've just made use of TypeScript. Alternatively, you can make use of Python, or you can also make use of Terraform. So if you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Manifold AI Learning for more tutorials on MLOps, machine learning, and cloud deployment. And if you're looking for upskilling yourself or your team, I recommend you to check out our course, that is uh, the AWS Enterprise MLOps Mastery, where you learn to build, deploy, and scale the machine learning models. Check out the link that is provided in the description. So only few seats are left, and we look forward to helping you to deploy your machine learning models with AWS in a production environment. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. Thanks for watching and happy deploying.